Yo, it is. Excuse me. But it's still Aaron Moses. Now, this video, we're going to be going real deep, very serious. This video is about why so many people who profess to be spiritualists are addicts. The first thing I want to say is most addicts that I run into have been abused, okay? Sexually, mentally, physically, emotionally, verbally, and by way of neglect. For those who did not know, yes, neglect is a form of abuse. All right. Now, before we go too deep into it, I want to tell you that abuse, trauma, and addiction are very powerful programs that can be used, that can be transmuted, and that can be beneficial and very official and very authentic ways to transform the lives of people that you love and people that love you. All right. Very similar to depression and anxiety. It was described to me that depression is very similar to driving in a car while looking in the rearview mirror, not paying attention what you're going towards. While anxiety is looking way too far, miles or kilometers, depending on where you are, ahead of where you're driving to. These programs can be used to make situations better in hella different ways. These are tools. How you use them is very much so up to you. Very much so. Why are spiritual people so prone to being addicts, to being addicted to food, to sex, to gambling, to drugs? Because we are very in tune with things and elements that aren't even present to the naked eye, aka people who are not woke. So what needs to happen is we need to become more in tune with what a lot of people like to call our higher selves. I don't like to use the phrase higher self because if you watch a lot of my material, you probably come to the conclusion that I don't believe that and I are three different things. How you doing, Carrie? How you doing, Kimberly? How you doing, Tony? How you doing, Tammy? Just getting it in, just waking up, doing what we need to do to make the situation better for a lot of people so we can be greater later. Okay? But and I, what are the three I's? The flesh, the soul, and the presence. As it says in the Bible, and no, I'm not a Bible thumper, I'm not a Christian, I'm not a right-hand path, I'm not an Abrahamic believer or a practicer. Yes, my name is Aaron Moses. I didn't name myself that. The universe named myself that, so I ran with it. But when you say I, what do you mean? That's the first thing that we need to understand. Because there is sin in this flesh, like it says in the Bible. Everything in the Bible is not right, and everything in the Bible is not wrong. Okay, so we need to understand these three I's. When you say I right now, mentally. When you say I, what do you mean? Do you mean your flesh? Do you mean your soul? Or do you mean the so-called higher self? What do you mean? For example, most people that are watching this right now probably smoke cigarettes. When you want to smoke a cigarette, that's not you really wanting to smoke a cigarette. That is a disconnect from your higher self, your first I, okay? That's a disconnect in communication between your I and your flesh. What you really want to do is go outside and do some breathing exercises. What you really want to do is ground yourself. If you want to do, I've never done heroin personally. I've sipped a little lean. I've done opiates before. I've done hydrocodone and all those things, whatever. But the sensation of being grounded, the sensation of that, the rhythm of breathing in and out, that's really what we want. But your flesh is confusing you. You're not interpreting the message. That's really all it is. Gambling, which a lot of people say is more addicting than cocaine, you know, because you're producing chemicals that are already there. I never got into gambling. I don't understand. I haven't gambled. I could probably count on my hands the amount of times I gambled. That's just not my thing, personally. It's you looking for a way. Your soul is expressing something, and your flesh is not putting out the energy that needs to be there. So instead of you smoking cigarettes, you could easily replace that with breathing exercises. Yes, it's easier said than done, but have you tried it? Where's your purpose? The purpose, the universal purpose for all souls, for all people. And I only believe there's only one soul. We're all connected. We're all mirrors. If you die tonight, all this shit's going to stop. Nobody's going to be here because we're all connected. It's not going to exist. It's not. That's just my personal belief. But the universal purpose is to raise the vibration of everything you touch, smell, taste, feel, hear, and the other senses I missed. All right? So when people tell me they're addicted to drugs, they're addicted to crack cocaine, methamphetamine, sex, food, the number one reason people are addicted to food, think about this. What do you do before you eat? You pray on your food, right? You're missing blessings. You're not connecting with people. Why are you addicted to sex? Because you're not connecting with people, because you don't socialize properly. Because you're doing something that you are not connecting with in totality. Think about it like this. When I was a teenager, of course, like a lot of us, I started smoking weed, started smoking reefer, right? How do teenagers fund their weed habit, when they don't have a job, they don't work for their money, what are they going to do? They're going to commit crimes. 9 times out of 10. You get that first hit of that blunt, you get high, or whatever you smoke. Get high. And a lot of people, a lot of teenagers start doing crimes, start doing things they're not supposed to be doing. Because they don't have any way of connecting with that source. They don't have any way to resource. They're not resourceful because they're teenage. They don't know shit. So that's the same connection that spiritualists have with this addiction. Notice I said this addiction. Like I said in one of my last lives, stop claiming it. You can claim being crazy. You can claim being a feminist. You can claim being a lot of things, but never claim being an addict. Don't call it my addiction, my anxiety, my depression. That's useless. There's literally no use in you calling something that's outside of you to be inside of you that will ultimately only be detrimental to your health if you don't know how to properly use it. So don't call it don't own it, don't give it a name, don't give it a face, don't give it an identity, don't give it a color unless you're planning on destroying it. I think that's what the first AA step thing is. Don't personify it. When you say my addiction, my depression, my this, my condition, my cancer, my this, my this, my this, my this, you're giving it more power. When you call it my addiction, or when you call it my depression or my anxiety, you're aligning your face, your identity. This is your identity. Your body, your mind, your soul. You're giving your face, your identity, your ego, your heart to this parasite. Why do that? What is the benefit of doing that? What is it? So the fact that you do magic, the fact that you meditate, the fact that you, my notes went out. The fact that you put all this energy into yourself, into your universe, is great and all, but when you claim it when you give it the name my is just as powerful as I. It's only I. Okay, that's the crown chakra. Is the sound of the crown chakra. So you're connecting your connection to the universe to this parasite. Why would you do that? That's foolish. Don't call it, excuse me, don't call it my addiction, don't call it my depression, don't call it anything but what it is. This parasite, the symbiote. It doesn't need to be there unless you're going to use it, unless you know what you're doing. It's all about how you frame it. Why? Why do so many people fall into the trap of addiction? Because our souls are very powerful. What we need to do is we need to understand what the soul does. The sole purpose of the soul, pun intended, is to copy what is in your environment and to enhance it. So if I give you ignorance, you're going to do ignorance better than anybody else. If I give you brilliance, you're going to copy brilliance. You're going to copy it, duplicate it, mimic it, and it's going to be greater than it can ever be. So if you introduce these substances to someone that has a beautiful soul, a beautiful mind, a beautiful set of emotions that can only be used for good, and you give them something negative that they don't know how to translate into spiritual endeavors, of course they're going to make it horrible. So what we need is, we had a whole lot of people that claimed they were going to chime in. They haven't done that. But we're just going to keep going on with it. That's a strong statement. Of course it is. Because what is the soul made out of? Light. The same thing that melanin is made out of. That's why I don't like all this talk about, I don't want to get into that. But, I mean, there's hella things. A lot of people chimed in and said it was America's fault. I mean, sure, there is a war on drugs. The war on drugs has made everything worse. Of course, when Portugal destroyed the war on drugs, hella people stopped dying. Hella people did not overdose. But I'm not trying to get political or anything like that. But we already ran down on everything. Reprogramming these addictions that have introduced themselves to you. Oh, I forgot about that. Now, a lot of people come to me and ask me about ancestor work. A lot of you guys do not speak to your ancestors correctly. A lot of your ancestors don't have good intentions for you. And you have to stop acting like all your ancestors want to see you thrive and go forward. Now, when I do ancestor work, the most important statement of my affirmations and my spells and any of my workings is those who have only good intentions for me. I call upon my ancestors who only have good intentions for me. A lot of people have been having all these imaginary friends when they were little kids and they didn't know where they were and who they were and what they were contacting them, because you keep messing with these spirits and you don't know where they came from. So when you call on your ancestors, you might have something introduced to yourself that has never been there, that should have never been there in the first place. So if you contact these spirits, I call upon my spirit guides, I invoke my spirit guides, you have to make sure they have only good intentions for you. Because your words, of course, spell, all of the television, I could break these words down for days, whatever. That's not important. But you have to understand, you only can affirm entities and energies that only have good intentions for you. Because I've ran into ancestors that didn't care about me. I'm trying to keep it cool because I want to upload this to YouTube and monetize it and all. But you have to make sure that you interact with energies that only have good intentions for you. Now, I already ran down this list. We have abuse 9 times out of 10 is going to produce addiction problems. Okay, you not having a purpose is going to produce addiction problems 9 times out of 10, because of course the purpose of your purpose is to give you direction, is to give you that same sensation that only addiction and purpose can give you. All right. a lot of the times, people want to heal or hurt, but they don't know how to do the opposite. They don't know how to complement the polarities of having a compulsion, having something that they don't have any control of. If I don't have this thing, I'm going to die. That's very extreme. That's what your purpose is for. It's something that you're supposed to be willing to die for and willing to kill for. If you don't have that, where is that going to lead you? Of course, to drugs. That's where all the gang banging in Chicago comes from. People ask me if the numbers are actually accurate. Yes, people really do get shot 75 times in a weekend. Thousands of people actually get killed a year in Chicago. Not even just a lot of different places too. Now we have conversion, knowing how to differentiate the difference between your flesh, your soul, your flesh, and your this higher self, which I don't believe in. This is why I keep doing the finger thing. You have to be able to recognize the different voices, all right, the different sensations, the different forms of intuition, instincts, and fate sensations, okay? Understanding what is being done to us politically as a spiritual people. Understanding that your words are more powerful than you think. Understanding that you're doing what you're doing because your past is lasting past your past. Stop calling it what it's not. It's depression or it's anxiety. But you have to be present in order to eliminate all those possibilities. All right? Reprogramming it. If you've already fallen into the grips of it, you can do a lot with it. You can do a lot of good things with it. Whether it's your fault or not. What's up, Dina? Whether it's your fault or not, it is a program just like anything else. It could be handled, it could be redirected, and it could be shared in a very positive way. So don't take anything from it. If anything, add something to it in a good way, in a positive way, in a way that's going to benefit hella different people. Understand that you need to control these ancestors, control these spirits, and make everything that you have in your life work for you, or it's useless. Make your money work for you. Make your sexuality work for you. Make your technology work for you. Make everything that you have inside you work for you, or get rid of it within reason. Oh no. That's it. I thought because people were talking a lot of big game, telling me they wanted to come in. But other than that, I mean, if anybody has any questions, see, I'm rocking. Look, Dina, I got it on right now. The Lord is with me. He's strong. It's Aaron Moses. Anything other than that, I mean, a lot of people have a lot of strong opinions because they never been through it. And I don't do it for people who don't understand me. I do it for people who can relate in totality. If you can't relate, you're not going to understand. I don't want you to keep telling me to tell people that they need to stop using their addiction as an excuse. Yes, that's absolutely the truth. We all know that. That's common sense. I don't come to speak common sense. I come to say something uncommon. I come to give you clarity. I don't come to tell you things that you can just easily Google, because, I mean, that doesn't even make sense. But why are spiritual people a lot of the times drug addicts? Because most of the time we're very spongy people, because that's what the soul is for, to store memories, to connect, to touch, to be interpreted and misinterpreted over and over and over again. You can't hear me? If you can't hear me, let me know. I can always speak up. But the purpose of addiction is to teach you, just like trauma. Everybody is not going to relate. Sort of like God. I describe God as being a diamond of different personalities interpreting what you feel for you to get what you need out of God. Because the whole purpose of God is to teach you how to be God. And addiction is a tool, just like everything else. Just like guns, just like microwaves. Now, I don't want to try to, but there's a purpose for everything. Everything has a place, everything has a purpose. So if you want to put this tool, I'm going to call addiction a tool. If you want to put addiction on the same level as your Jesus, you can do that. Because a lot of people wouldn't be anything if they wouldn't have gone through all the trials and tribulations that addiction has given them. Stealing, hurting people, doing things that they had absolutely no business doing. So I want people to understand that I'm not an astrologer, so that's why I wanted someone to come on here that could speak on the 11th house and the 12th house, because that's absolutely not my thing, and it would be wrong for me, to try to pretend that it was. But it's here to fill voids. It's here to fill voids, and it's here to teach everybody what they need to know. It's a beautiful teacher, just like poverty, just like violence, just like freaking sex, just like a lot of things. But I want people to watch this video. We can go live again, we can go deeper, but it comes from those things: abuse, lack of purpose, feeling like you don't understand the messages that your soul is giving your body. The reason people smoke cigarettes is because we don't have time or space to just sit and meditate and do breathing exercises. Because we don't have the convenience of just like with spirituality. Everybody who believes that they see ghosts or reads tarot cards or whatever, anything to do with spirituality, is pretty much deemed mental illness. And addiction is considered a mental illness. If you're an addict, if you're addicted to cigarettes, if you're addicted to coffee, that's considered a mental illness. If you believe you can see spirits and hear voices, that's a mental illness. You're sick. You need to be in a crazy house somewhere. I don't think that's what these books say. That's what the government says. That's what these doctors say. All right. Understanding that this is a beautiful tool that was obtained through unfortunate circumstances, but it is what it is. It's here. It's here. It needs to be respected. It needs to be acknowledged. And we need to be using it. You need to understand that this is a political movement. There is a war going on, and we need to respect it, understand it, and move with it. This is why we have yoga, to physically go from one moment to another without harm. Meditation, to go from one thought to another without harm. Breathing exercises, to invoke energies and direct energies from one invocation in one direction to another without harm. To do what you want to do with tools that can only be obtained with obsession, with compulsion, with disease, with programming that was foreign from our DNA at some point, because nobody was born an addict specifically. You have certain compulsions and personality quirks that didn't necessarily have to be addiction. It just happened like that. It just happened to be a substance that was outside of your body. Like I had one of the Mosias asked me, can you be addicted to depression? No, you can't be addicted to depression. That's foolish. No, you can't be addicted to having anxiety. You can only be used to it. Addiction and depression and anxiety, that's 3 different illnesses. You can't be addicted to depression. You can only be used to it. Depression is a program that you can absolutely transmute a lot easier than addiction, in my opinion, because your body is not physically dependent on depression or anxiety. You're not going to die if you're not depressed anymore. You're not going to die if you're not anxious anymore. That's just not going to happen. There are certain addictions that will take your life if you don't feed them, or if you don't replace that addiction with something else. That's absolutely certainly going to happen if you're in too deep. Reprogramming yourself, repurposing yourself, and understanding what you're going through is always going to be the answer. Tapping into those energies and understanding what needs to be done from moment to moment is always going to be the answer. What's up, bro? So what needs to be done is understanding understanding what's going to happen when you become not necessarily a better person, but a person with more healthy habits. That doesn't necessarily mean you're a better person, because I knew some people that were on drugs that were a better person when they were on drugs than off. You feel me? And that's not too far-fetched. So what we need to do is we need to understand what we got from this. I think is the most important aspect of this. We need to understand that everybody does not want to have this program. Just like constantly going in and out of jail, addiction is a prison. It's a if you make it that. But all prisons can be opened. You can never escape the prison if you don't know the laws. Okay? You can escape it, but are you going to do it legally or illegally? There's laws to the universe. There's levels to this shift. If you want to leave, leave, but do it legally. Okay? If you want to do it illegally, you're always going to be a fugitive. So know the laws of this condition, of this dis-ease, of this condition that was not given to everyone. For some, it's a blessing. For some, it's a curse. For some, it's both. But we do need to understand how to leave it properly with grace and with honor. And that's all I have to say, guys. So, it's Aaron Moses. I'm the bang, you the bang, we the bang together, man. Life is in the breath. Breathe it in. Peace.